I know when I'm supposed to start. God. Hello, welcome to the It Show. This is the In It Together show. My name is Stacey Mandel, and I can't wait to introduce my special guest to you in a couple of moments. But I want to go over the concept of the show. This show is really to explore how we're in it together in Delaware County. When Delaware County is in the top 7% of the wealthiest counties in the entire country. Top 7%. But at the same time, Delaware County has two towns that are the poorest in the state. And it also has two towns that are listed in the top 25 most dangerous in the country. So, this show is about bringing on guests who get it, and also infusing little practices of mindfulness, compassion, and gratitude out into the airwaves to see if we can reimagine possibilities. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my very special guest, Mr. Shakiyl Smith.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, welcome to the It Show, sir.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we're going to get into a little about who you are and how you're in it together, where you've been coming from, where you are now, where you're going, and all that. But before we do that, I would love to see if you'd be willing to share your thoughts about those statistics. Delco, top 7% in the country, wealthiest counties in the country. Two towns, though, that are the poorest in PA, and two towns that are in the most dangerous in the entire country.
Well, to me, I would say that those statistics doesn't add up to me. It's not mathematical to me. Reason being those stats. Delco County, it should be a way different environment that we see outside of our houses when we go outside of our homes. It should be no way in the world two towns, poorest one, when we got people out here with mansions owning $20 million mansions and have 20 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms that they barely even go into or see, owning exotic cars, sports cars worth $250,000. Then you got people who own jets and things of those natures, and we got people starving. We got people poor. We got people in poverty. There's no way in the world they don't have drawers to put on or a shower to go to bathe in or shirts or clothing to put on their bodies, or wondering how they going, if they ever going to be able to eat their next meal, or where they going to get their next meal from. So that right there is kind of self-explanatory when we got all these wealthy people who know these statistics but not really out here being in it together with us, which we are, doing right now. We are in the process of making all that come together and making all those aware of those statistics. And then being the dangerous is it comes from a lot of hurt, from people, I would say, who have came from broken homes and didn't have a parent there with them to guide them. Their mom had to go to work, or dad might be incarcerated, so they are left to fend for themselves at a minor age, starting around that time. That leaves a bit of trauma on the child in itself. And then we got this music out here nowadays that's affecting the minds of the children and just people, these days that are going through those type of traumas. And the music is very not positive. We all know that. We all hear it. There's not much positivity in the music as far as hip hop, in our hip hop culture. At the end of the day, that's all we have, is our culture and the music that we are attached to, because we have organs. So the music, it really plays a big part in how we think and how we act and how we live and go about our daily life. Okay.
Thank you. I'm so glad that we're doing this show together. So let's move into you. Before we talk about what's happened already, right? Can you just tell the audience about the elephant in the room, which is this big wheelchair that you're in, right? And your limitations. Maybe just tell us a little bit about what's going on for you.
Okay, as I'm sitting in this wheelchair, reason being, I'm sitting in this wheelchair to this day for 16 years. Take it back to when I was 17, when I first became a quadriplegic, paralyzed, complete C3 quadriplegic, having to be bound to a wheelchair with no use of my arms or legs, with no use of my limbs, having to depend on others to be my arms and feet. And I would say a person not going to take care of yourself, take care of you better than you would take care of yourself. And me, I'm a particular type of guy, who like to dress up and make sure everything is right, make sure the shoelaces on my sneakers are tied the way that I was tying them before I got injured and been in this wheelchair. And take it back to, again, when I first got injured, it was at an after-hour party in the west end of this city of Chester, my hometown. And I went to this party with 12 other friends. And in the midst of my friends and being living in a small city, this hometown called Chester, PA, we have different neighborhoods, and because of the way, quote unquote, gangs and all that started from back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, from out in Los Angeles with Tukey Williams and them starting the Crips and the Bloods. So that cycle has continued to this day. And I have lost a lot of close friends, due to the fact of folks, my peers claiming a neighborhood, saying they repping this set, we are this set, and then the scarves, wearing different type of different color scarves, and letting people just know out in the city, wherever they be at, just to let others know this is what we represent. We are from this hood. And if these hoods, which one I would say hood these guys was from, that my friends and them was having a feud with, at this party that was taking place, I was 17 and it was an after hour spot. So it was only allowed to be 18 and older. If you wasn't 18 and older, you shouldn't have been in that building.
You were 17.
I was 17. I had friends who were with me who was 15, who was 14. But it was so packed at the front door, they saw just money. They was just looking at the money part of it, how much money we about to make off all these people at this door right now. So we just gonna let everybody in as long as they have the fee, the money to get in. And we gonna make sure we pat everyone down to make sure no one have any weapons or knives or anything of the sort of nature, so no one will end up having to die, during the party. So as the party is taking place, I'm having a good time with my friends. We all having a good time. Me, I was a party animal, a hell of a dancer. You could have called me Chris Brown, Omarion, Usher. I don't know about Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, he's on another level. I was trying.
Go on.
Practice makes perfect, though.
Remember, the show's only an hour.
I know. I'm sorry. All right, so I would say the party was like 2-3 hours after we was having a good time. These guys walked into the party that we was feuding with from a different neighborhood, and a scuffle broke out amongst one of my friends and one of the other guys. And I think it was about three of those guys, and it was, remember, 13 of us. So it was probably at least 5 of us each on one of them. So they got beat up real bad by us. And afterwards, during our departure, as I was seated in the middle of the back seat of the car that we were in with 4 other friends in a car with me. I heard random gunshots go off. I only heard one. The first random gunshot that I heard miraculously missed. The bullet miraculously missed the person sitting on the left side of me, striking me on the left side of my neck, ricocheting off my spinal cord, shattering my C3 vertebrae in my spinal cord, causing me to be paralyzed instantly and affecting my vocal cords. And paralyzing me instantly, I just leaned over. I was bent over. And as the gunshots was still continuing, my friends was bending over and ducking down. And after the gunshots was over, my friends didn't know that I was struck by a bullet. But I knew something wasn't right with me because a loud ringing noise started going off in my ear, like a flatline IV machine going off, and things just started spinning around really, really fast. And then, after the gunshot stopped, I heard my friends as I was bent over saying that they was gonna kill those guys that we were fighting inside of the party. They didn't know that I was shot at that time. 20, 30 seconds later, I felt a sensation, a touch of one of them touching me. And once they didn't get a response from me, they started saying, Shaq dead. Shaq is dead. Everybody started to get emotional. The driver was crying hysterically. I was just going in and out of my consciousness and still alert, hearing everything that was going on. They hurried and rushed me to Chester Crozier Medical Center, where we got to the ER and they picked me up, carried me out the car, laid me on the ground. Next thing, I saw my arms, legs, just without no use of me using them, just being lifeless, most likely.
They put you on the ground?
They laid me on the ground. And if I could recall, I seen paramedics rushing out with a stretcher, probably for 2 seconds. After that, I went unconscious for 12 hours. They treated me at Chester Crozier Medical Center. And then once they noticed I had a spinal cord injury, they called for a helicopter to fly me over to Jefferson Hospital, where they operated on me, but never did surgery on me because they said they didn't want to go into my spinal cord to do surgery because of all the movement that was being caused on our way to the ER. And they didn't seem it was safe because they didn't want to cause any more damage to what damage has already been done. So my body had to swell down, which they kept my room on below zero with ice packs all around my body. And next, I'm just not really taking into what my body was going, what was going on with my body. I was new to it. I didn't know how to take it. I didn't know how to deal with it. So it traumatized me in a major way.
Okay. So we're pretty clear on what's going on and, what you were doing before the incident occurred.
And
Can you
they
tell us, were you a student? Were you an athlete? What? Go ahead.
and they never publicly identified or arrested the person who was doing the shooting. You know, to this day, that person is still walking around on these streets.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment, but just real quick.
Who I were,
Yeah, well, just briefly.
I was
A
a
student, like, what was going on in your life at the time?
I was a outstanding student. You know, during
Where?
all my school years, from pre-K all the way up to my junior year.
So you were a junior at which school?
I was in Chester High School,
Okay.
junior year.
Were you an athlete? Were you
I was a basketball player, a very standout prospect. You know, high school basketball player. I was always a starter, starting five on any team I played for. I was always a captain on the team, and the highest points I would say I scored in one game was 30 points.
That's a lot. But remember, like I said before, the show's only an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So let's take a little time out here for a second, because you were talking about how the perpetrator still is at large, or we don't know if they're at large, but we don't know who the person's never been brought to justice in any way, right? So the show is about weaving in mindfulness, compassion, and gratitude, right, as well, to see how we can be in it together more. And so I'm wondering if we could maybe talk about compassion for a moment. You've got someone who has altered your life dramatically. It's an understatement, right? You described who you were, what was going on in your life at the time, and what happened, and now the effects of that in your present situation and condition. When you think about this person and what they've taken from you, or what the gunshot has taken from you, and this person's still out there, can you talk about that? Like how that feels?
Well, at first, I was very, 17. I didn't know no better at the time. I wish I knew what I knew now back then, because I would have approached this situation, my predicament, way differently. So I became to grow more closer to the God or higher power. And it started with me forgiving, forgiveness. It started with me having to choose forgiveness over retaliation, over avenging. And it made me want to be a part of all this quote unquote black on black crime, or just shootings going on all across this world, especially here in the United States. The mass shootings, gun violence, flat out. It made me just look at the bigger picture. Like, I wanna play a part and be a part of the process of changing the narrative of how we could all come together, be in it together, to build and work with each other, so we can all see the change that we all want to see.
Yeah.
And it made me want to see this person who ended up shooting me and put me in a wheelchair and reconcile with this person, to make amends with this person.
So if this person is watching or gets to know that this podcast is out there, what would you say to that person?
I know you watching. I know you hearing. To the shooter, I would say that I forgave. I forgive you. I forgave the whole situation. But the bigger thing is, I didn't forgive just for you. I had forgave for me, so I can help heal within. So it can help heal me within my eternal mind, soul, and spirit. So I won't be dwelling on that and having on that sitting on my mind throughout the years of me living and still living and still going.
So
I forgave you. I forgave you. May peace be upon you. And that's what I would say it once I see you.
I think that's beautiful. And it comes back to the word compassion. Compassion means that we have a deep connection, understanding, perspective, you know, with someone else, and that we're motivated to be of service, motivated to take action in some way. Without that part, it's just the word empathy. Empathy is just the understanding and the forgiveness and the connection. But the compassion is that plus a desire to actually do something. So I'm wondering if you could talk more about your desire to do, what that might be for you.
I'd say reconciliation would definitely play a huge major part in everyone wanting to take heed to the example that we will be setting. You know, you lead by example so others could physically see that, okay, if this man in a wheelchair and this man that shot this man that's in a wheelchair, and these two are able to work together, build with each other, communicate with each other, be in it with each other to help others not have to go through what we have went through, as far as inflicting violence on each other, senseless violence on each other, when at the end of the day, it's all love and it be over nothing. And it would help others like really give them a bigger outlook on life, you know, overall. Give them a perfect perspective on life in itself, a perfect perspective on that choosing to forgive is better than expecting an apology from a person that have wronged you or in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
So people who are listening who might feel compassion towards you, In other words, they are connecting and get your perspective, see things from your from your vantage point, and they're motivated to actually be of service and try to help and try to make change. Would you like to tell people what you feel like you want to do with your life right now and how they might be able to lean forward into that?
Well, I definitely want to continue the work of helping others see me in a they would whatever perspective they see me in, to give them a better outlook.
How that what does that mean?
And
How do you do that?
to help me to help in the process of me wanting to walk again, of me wanting to do a lot of physical therapy, intensive occupational therapy, speech therapy. I do mouth paintings, so I do art therapy also, which I'm going to tap back into. And I have a GoFundMe that you can look up under Shakiyl Smith, Quest to Walk Again, because I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to give up on the fact that it's not possible for me to get up out this chair and be up on my feet once again, walking around, being hands-on, with the situation, with the changing and making a difference, in the world, helping the youth in every which kind of way.
Can you talk about a specific way that you'd be able to help youth, help prevent violence?
A specific way, just by sharing my testimony, just by letting them see me in a wheelchair, just sharing my testimony, telling my story.
You said that you've had coaches invite you to come and speak
Yes.
to their athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, so you've done some public speaking, correct?
Yes. I used to play for Chester Bitty League here in Chester. It's a guy named Raouf Dorsey. He helps a lot with the youth and basketball and everything. And he had me come speak to the youth couple times.
Isn't it challenging, though, for you to go to speaking engagements, Shakiyl?
No, it's not challenging.
Well, transportation-wise.
Definitely.
So that's what
Transportation.
the GoFundMe would help with that, if you could elaborate a little bit on what you need.
Yes. Definitely, I'm trying to raise funds for me to get around in my own convenience by raising funds to get a wheelchair accessible van that I used to have. It was very convenient, so I wouldn't have to wait on and be on anyone else's time. When the transportation will show up late, if I gotta make it to an appointment, or if I gotta make it to a speaking engagement, the conveniency of having my own wheelchair accessible van would be great. Would be great for me to be able to get out and go to outpatient physical intensive therapy, and to do a lot of speaking engagements to go around the world.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Did you said it affected your vocal cords when you were shot. You had to do speech therapy to be able to speak like you are now?
Yes.
So that's proof
Yes.
that the therapies are really vital and making a difference.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Pretty amazing.
I had a trach, and I had to do a lot of breathing exercises to help build my vocal cords and everything back up, so I could once again have a voice for the voiceless to use, for the voiceless, for the betterment, of the change we all want to see. And definitely fit the medical equipment that I would need. It would be convenient for me to have in my home the physical therapy equipment, occupational therapy equipment, speech therapy equipment, art therapy equipment. Would be very convenient for me to have, in the comfort of my own home, so I wouldn't have to worry about going out, spending money on gas, which is skyrocket high right about now. And
it's also kind of a big ordeal every time you leave the house, I think.
yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a big ordeal just to set up this taping situation.
Yeah. My every day, my day.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your day?
My day to day, when I wake up, I definitely give thanks to the Lord, to the Most High, first and foremost, before I choose my next thing that I want to do. Then I have to have my caregiver put me in a shower chair by using a Hoyer lift, which helps transfer me from out of the bed and into the wheelchair, or from out the wheelchair back into my bed. And insurance pays for that, but it's a manual one. It's a crank one that you gotta use, manually. And they have
some other kind of lift that's not manual.
Yeah, other kind of lifts that's not manual, that you just use by the push of a button, which is very expensive. That I'm trying to raise funds for also.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, what number would you give to your desire to heal physically? 1 to 10.
10.
And then on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give for your desire to be able to do more speaking engagements and make a difference? 10. Okay. Just want to put that out there.
Yes, so I have to have a caregiver. I have to have a person be my hands and feet to help bathe me, dress me, groom me, all of the above. And to make sure I like it the way how I would do it if I was able to care for myself. And sometimes that get challenging sometimes, and I'm particular, and when it's not a certain way, I get a little frustrated. The other person might get frustrated, and then things might go left, and now I still gotta wait on them to get me out of bed or to turn on my wheelchair so I can control it by my head, by myself. And I would say I go through chronic pain every moment to moment. So that sits in the back of my mind as I go through my day. And sometimes it takes a big toll on me. Whereas though I have to be in bed, I have to stay in bed for days, for 5 days, a week straight, because of how much pain I would be in I'm prone to urinary tract infections because I have to urinate through a catheter connected to a Foley bag. That the catheter sits inside my bladder 24/7, being prone to bacteria, being colonized, sitting there. So I gotta definitely make sure I stay on top of my health, drink plenty of water, fruits, minerals, herbs, all the above to make sure I stay on top of my health to decrease the risk of me getting any type of infections.
Shakiyl, you're giving us so much information. If you were speaking with kids, is this do you just let them when you? I know you do a speaking part where you have something planned and you want to get it out there and say it, but do you let them just ask you questions?
Yes, yes.
They can answer you whatever, right?
Yeah, they ask me whatever. It was one time when I was finished speaking to the youth, and it was their time to ask me questions. And I told the youth and to the person who was the shooter during the time, the person who shot me, homecoming 2021, Chester High homecoming. 2021, I went over there, and it was my very first time seeing this person who shot me. And when I saw him, my first instinct, no hesitation, I utilized my headset that I have to use to control my chair. And I started strolling up to him. And I went up to him and I let him know everything good. What happened in the past happened. I moved forward from it. All we could do is move forward from it. It's all love. We rather, as Tupac, said, we'd rather see each other as brothers instead of two distant strangers. So I went up to him and I was saying those things, and I just said, "May peace be upon you." He said but two words to me, "You too." And after that, I just strolled back home. So I was speaking to the youth about that. And then when it was their turn to ask me questions, one of the youths said, "So you wasn't scared if he was going to shoot you again?" I just started, I couldn't help but just laugh. I can't help but laugh. I said, "No, I wasn't afraid. No, I wasn't afraid."
Well, I can't think of anyone better to be talking to young people and to the world than you about what it's like to be the victim of a gunshot wound. And I hope that people see this and the word gets out there and that we raise money so that you can have more healing modalities and you can be as strong as you can, and that you can do speaking engagements. So I want to weave in a little meditation, a little compassion and gratitude all at the same time in a little practice. This is difficult terrain. It's painful. It sounds like it's definitely painful physically. It's painful emotionally. It sounds like it's painful spiritually and in the soul. So we need to be able to take care of ourselves like you're doing. You mentioned God, and you mentioned, the physical in terms of, therapies and food and water, people. But mindfulness and meditation, it's another way that we can take care of ourselves. We can use it to create a deep respite, a place of refuge, that only we can create for ourselves. Really, there's no one else that can create it. And we can incorporate anything we want. I mean, the mindfulness practice that I'm going to do with us today doesn't involve God at all, doesn't involve spirituality, but it could if you want it to. But this is really more of a body, brain-based practice.
I would say just is. Just is.
Yeah, it's science-based. We have x-rays, images of the brain showing how the brain changes before and after mindfulness practice. And what I'm going to do is, because, Shakiyl, you can't put your hand over your own heart space, I'm going to do what we typically do. I'm going to put my hand over it for you, which I think I can reach from my seat. And you've told me before you can't really feel my hand unless I push a little bit, and you can feel the pressure, right?
I can feel it. Yeah.
And if you're watching this is something that you can do on your own. You could take your own hand, put it over your heart space. You could put two hands. You could take two hands and wrap them around yourself. But it's like the same way we would do this with someone else if they were struggling. We give them some physical touch, right? We need to give ourselves the same kind of caring, affectionate warmth. So that's why I'm doing this. And it helps connect ourselves, too, to this space. Because often we're in our heads. We're very thought-based creatures, right? We have very, very strong minds as human beings, and that's helpful, but can also, it's not the full power of our technology. We also are heart-centered beings. So I'll start the meditation. We'll start by just connecting to whatever we're sitting on, whatever we can feel against our bodies. It might be the air, clothing, a seat. Maybe we can notice whatever our feet are resting on. We can tune into gravity, so we can feel the pull of gravity. It's invisible, but it's the weight of our bodies, the density of our muscles and bones. And just paying attention right here, right now, to this moment that we're carving out, to be really present. And then just opening up with our full awareness to whatever's here. So taking in sound, maybe distractions in the background around us. It could be our own body sensations, a hunger, pain, and itch. It might be our own thoughts, our own mood that's here, our feelings. So just taking it in. And then really letting go and letting be, so that we don't have to do anything. There's nothing to prove, no striving needed. Just practicing allowing, meeting whatever's here. And as we do this, though, we might notice that we wander off with distractions or with thoughts, for example. So it helps to have an anchor. So in this practice, we can actually use our breath as an anchor. So just tuning into where you feel your own breath moving in and out of your body. It might be your nostrils. You might notice the air coming in cool and coming out warmer. It could be in your chest area. It could be in your belly. Just feeling the gentle expansion and contraction as you breathe in and out at your own pace without working. Just connecting to the natural rhythm that's already there. And notice how you can use your breath, let it serve you like an anchor while you rest in open awareness. And then I invite you to drop down below the thinking mind into the heart space. Whatever that means for you. It could be where you picture your heart to be. It might be into your gut. More of your true nature. And this is where it can be helpful to put a hand over your heart, like I said, or two, or keep your arms wrapped around yourself. And then just spend a few moments giving yourself some kindness, some compassion. Maybe even noticing some gratitude. Maybe even feeling if you can breathe in and out of this heart space. Expanding the heart space area without working. Maybe letting the breath do this, or just letting yourself marinate in the heart space. That might be an organic way to expand this area. And if you want, you can even offer yourself some words of kindness, whatever you might need to hear from yourself to yourself. I'll say a few phrases that you can repeat in your own mind. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be strong. May I be peaceful. And if you're so inclined, if you'd like to offer those words outward to those you don't know, or maybe someone in particular that you do know, that you know is struggling, may you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be strong. May you be peaceful. And then if you're using physical touch, letting that go. And as you're ready, transitioning out of this formal practice, letting more light in to your eyes, maybe wiggling fingers and toes a bit, taking notice of shapes, forms. Shakiyl, you there?
Yes, somewhere.
Yeah, and we can fall asleep too. That happens.
Yeah.
We get so relaxed, right?
Yeah.
We end up sleeping, and that can be a real blessing. Mm-hmm. We're actually at the end of the show. Time kind of flew. Anything else you'd like to say as we wrap up here?
I appreciate you guys for having me. I appreciate all that you are dedicating yourself to helping humanity with mindfulness, how the power of our mind, subconscious mind, plays a vital role in our lives, how we go about our daily life. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And again, we're going to have the GoFundMe on the screen, but say the name of it again for people in case they're just listening.
It's under Shakiyl Smith, Quest to Walk Again.
Shakiyl Smith, Quest to Walk Again.
Shakiyl spelled SHAKIYL.
Good point.
Smith, Quest to Walk Again.
All right.
That's what's going to happen.
Peace out, everyone. We're in it together.
Peace, love.